The night was cold, silent, and full of fog. In the middle of the forest, far from the city, stood a small wooden cabin. Jack lived there alone. He was a quiet man with a rough past. Once a soldier, now just a man who wanted peace. He didn't like people much, and people didn't visit him. That night, the wind howled louder than usual. Trees shook, and the sky rumbled with distant thunder. Jack was sitting near his fireplace, drinking warm tea and reading an old book. Suddenly, knock knock, a soft sound came from the front door. He froze. Who could be knocking at this hour? He stood up slowly, placing his cup down. His eyes narrowed as he walked toward the door. Another knock, this time a little louder. Knock, knock. He grabbed the shotgun hanging near the door, just in case. Jack opened the door slowly, and what he saw changed his life forever. A strange figure stood there, tall, thin, and shaking. It was not human. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She was holding something close to her chest. A baby. A small glowing baby wrapped in metallic cloth. The baby was crying softly, its tiny hands shaking from the cold. Jack stared, shocked. He had seen aliens once, long ago during the war. But never like this. The alien woman fell to her knees. Blood thick and dark dripped from her side. She looked weak, dying. She looked up at Jack. Her lips trembled as she spoke in a strange language. Then, with great effort, she spoke again. This time in broken English. Please, save her. Don't let them take her. And then she collapsed. Dead. Jack dropped his shotgun and rushed forward. He checked her pulse. Nothing. The baby cried louder now. Jack picked her up gently. She felt warm, alive, scared. Jack stood there for a moment, his mind racing. Who was she? Why bring the baby here? Who were they? Suddenly, a strange sound came from the trees, whirring, clicking, mechanical breathing. Jack looked up. His heart pounded. In the distance, red lights flashed between the trees. Shadows moved fast. Tall shapes, wearing black armor. Not human. Not natural. They were searching for something. They were searching for her. He didn't have time to think. He rushed inside the cabin, shut the door, and turned off the lights. The baby's soft glow lit the room faintly. Jack rocked her gently, whispering, "It's okay. I got you." Outside, the strange sounds got closer. The lights moved around his cabin. Then silence. Jack held his breath. He looked out the window slowly. A tall figure stood just outside. Its eyes were glowing red. It scanned the cabin walls. Jack didn't move. The baby stayed quiet, as if she understood the danger. After a minute that felt like hours, the shadow walked away. Jack exhaled. He locked all doors and windows, then placed the baby on a soft blanket. She looked up at him with big, glowing eyes. She wasn't just any alien baby. Jack could feel it. There was something special about her. He noticed something shiny tucked inside her cloth, a small glowing crystal. He picked it up carefully. It pulsed in his hand. Was it a gift? A message? A tracker? He didn't know, but one thing was clear. Someone wanted this baby, badly, and they were willing to kill for her. Jack sat down beside the fireplace again. He wasn't alone anymore. His quiet life had just ended. This baby, this strange glowing baby, needed him. And deep in his heart, Jack knew he couldn't turn away, even if it meant facing monsters again. Outside in the forest, the red lights returned. But this time, Jack was ready. He looked at the baby who had stopped crying. "I don't know who you are," he whispered, "but I'll protect you. I promise." And with that, the fire crackled, the shadows danced outside, and a new story began. Jack didn't sleep that night. He sat near the fireplace, staring at the glowing baby lying on the blanket. Her tiny chest rose and fell gently. She looked peaceful now, but Jack couldn't forget what had happened just hours ago, the alien woman at his door, bleeding, dying, begging him to protect her child. The fear in her eyes, the way she whispered, "Don't let them take her." Jack wasn't a father. He never had a family of his own. But something deep inside him had shifted the moment he picked up that baby. She wasn't just a visitor from the stars. She had become his responsibility. And maybe, in a strange way, she had already become something more. Morning came slowly, with pale sunlight pushing through the thick fog outside. The cabin was cold, and Jack added more wood to the fire. He needed to figure out what this baby needed. She hadn't made a sound since the night. Her glow had faded a little but was still there, soft and warm, like moonlight. Jack prepared some milk, but the baby didn't drink it. He tried mashed food, even warm water. Nothing worked. The baby turned her head and looked away every time. Her skin was smooth, but not human. A soft blue tint ran across her cheeks and arms, and when Jack gently touched her forehead, he felt a tiny pulse of energy, like static electricity, but alive. He walked over to the table where he had placed the strange crystal he found tucked in her cloth. It looked like glass, but it hummed gently in his hand. Lines of light pulsed inside it, like veins carrying information. Jack had seen tech like this before during the off-world conflict years ago. He was just a field engineer then, working for the Earth Defense Forces. The war had ended in silence and secrets, and the public never knew the truth. But Jack knew. And what he held in his hand was not just a toy or decoration. It was alien tech. Maybe a tracker. Maybe a key. The thought chilled him. If this crystal could lead others to her, she was still in danger. And so was he. He wrapped it in thick foil and dropped it into a steel box, then locked it shut and placed it in his underground storage room. He couldn't take chances. The baby stirred. She made a small sound, not quite a cry, but a soft hum. Jack looked at her and saw something that made his breath stop. Her eyes were open, and in them, reflected like a movie screen, was an image. Jack walked closer. It wasn't a trick of the light. Her pupils had become tiny projectors, showing the flickering image on the wooden ceiling above. It was a planet, dark and stormy, surrounded by metal ships. He saw her mother running with the baby in her arms. Soldiers chased her. Red beams of light cut through the air. Explosions. Chaos. Then he saw something worse. A tall figure in black armor stood inside a lab. On the table lay another baby, just like this one, but lifeless. The armor figure inserted a long needle into the baby's chest. The image faded as the baby in Jack's cabin let out a tired sigh and closed her eyes. Jack stepped back, heart racing. What he saw wasn't just a memory. It was a message, a warning. This child, this tiny glowing creature, was not safe. Her kind were hunted, used, killed. And someone, somewhere, wanted her for the same reason. Jack sat down slowly, trying to make sense of it all. He couldn't contact anyone. No one he trusted anyway. The people who might help were the same ones who might be part of whatever program was doing this. He looked outside. The forest was calm again, but Jack didn't believe in calm anymore. Not after last night. He needed answers. And protection. He opened a dusty crate near the fireplace and pulled out his old gear. A rusted combat drone, a pulse scanner, a thermal blanket from the war days. They weren't much, but they were a start. He turned to look at the baby, still asleep on the blanket. What was her name? Did she even have one? He walked over and whispered, "Nova, I'll call you Nova. You came from the stars." The baby moved slightly, as if responding to her new name. Jack felt a strange warmth in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was hope, but it didn't last long. A sudden beep echoed from the old radar. Unit Jack had just activated. Something was moving near the edge of his forest. Not animals. Not humans. Something big, cold, and watching. Jack stood up fast. He picked up Nova, wrapped her gently in a thick cloth, and placed her inside his old emergency bag, not for hiding. For escape, he looked around the cabin one last time. He had hoped this would be a safe place for both of them. But safety was now a memory. He whispered again, more to himself than to the child. Whoever you are, whatever they want from you, they'll have to get through me first. And with that, Jack stepped into the cold morning, baby on his chest, and disappeared into the forest, just as the shadows began to move again. The forest was no longer quiet. Jack moved fast, boots crunching through snow and fallen leaves. Nova was wrapped tight against his chest, tucked inside a thick blanket and hidden beneath his coat. Her small body was warm against him, but Jack could feel her shivering. Whether from cold or fear, he didn't know. The wind had picked up again. Snowflakes danced through the air like silent whispers. The sky above was gray and heavy, and the trees looked like tall frozen ghosts. Jack's breath came in sharp clouds. His pulse pounded in his ears, not from the cold, but from what he had seen on the radar. The things in the forest were still tracking him. Whatever they were, they moved fast and stayed just outside his vision. Quiet, smart, they were hunting. Jack took a sharp turn off the trail and began climbing the rocky path toward the mountains. He knew this area better than most. There was an old ice cave near the North Ridge, place he had used long ago for survival training. No one else knew about it. If he could make it there before dark, they might have a chance to rest. To think, to figure out what the hell to do next. Nova didn't make a sound. She hadn't cried once since he left the cabin. It was almost as if she understood the danger, as if something inside her knew this world was not safe. The deeper Jack moved into the mountain, the colder it got. Snow was thick now, clinging to branches, covering the earth. His legs ached, but he didn't stop. Behind him, something cracked. He froze. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't an animal. It was metal. Brushing against bark, he ducked low and crouched behind a large rock, clutching Nova close. Her eyes peeked up at him, glowing faintly under the blanket. Jack placed a finger to his lips, silently telling her to stay quiet. Then dash movement. Far below, on the tree line, he saw a dark figure, tall, armored. It had no face, just a smooth black helmet with two red lights where eyes should be. It scanned the ground with a strange device, and then looked directly in Jack's direction. Jack's stomach dropped. He stood up and ran. Snow flew from under his boots as he dashed up the last part of the hill. Behind him, he heard the soft hum of engines. The machine was flying now low and slow, tracking heat. Jack didn't look back. He reached the entrance of the cave, hidden between two sharp rocks and covered in ice. He kicked the snow aside, cleared the gap, and squeezed through with Nova in his arms. The cold inside hit him like a punch. The cave was huge, like a frozen cathedral. Blue walls sparkled with trapped light, and icicles hung like frozen teeth from the ceiling. But for now it was sheltered. Jack moved deep into the cave, far from the entrance. He found a small pocket of space behind a wall of ice where the wind couldn't reach. He placed Nova down gently on a thermal blanket and wrapped her up again. Then finally he sat. His back hurt. His hands were shaking. But he was alive. Nova looked up at him, blinking slowly. Jack reached into his coat and pulled out a small, cracked data pad. He hadn't used it in years, but it still had a working scanner. He placed it near Nova's chest. A faint beep echoed in the cave, strange readings. Her heart didn't beat like a human's. It pulsed in patterns, like a wave, not a drum. Her cells gave off energy. Low-level radiation, but harmless. Jack had seen this once in a classified file. Quantum-born species, rare, artificially evolved. Nova wasn't just an alien baby. She was created for something. The small crystal Jack had hidden earlier. It was likely part of her, or made to track her, or both. He leaned back against the icy wall and stared at the ceiling. His mind spun with questions. Why Earth? Why his cabin? Was it a random choice, or was it planned? He looked at Nova again. She had fallen asleep. A soft hum came from her body. The cave around them flickered with her light, and then, without warning her, eyes opened wide. The light grew brighter. Images appeared in the air again. Jack sat up, stunned. This time, the projection showed a massive spaceship, sleek, silver, alive-looking. It floated above a planet, covered in smoke and fire. On the ground, children ran through broken streets. Some like Nova, some smaller. A battle was happening. Jack saw the woman from his cabin again. Nova's mother. She was standing before a council of humans, military leaders. She held the baby up and pleaded with them, but they turned away. Then the woman ran. The images faded. Nova looked at Jack. She didn't cry. She didn't speak, but Jack understood. The woman had come to Earth. Once before, she had asked for help. Earth had said no. So this time, she didn't ask. She just came straight to the only person she believed might still have a soul. Jack. He stood up slowly. His knees cracked. His body was tired, but his mind was sharper now. They weren't just running anymore. They were part of something bigger. Something the world didn't know or didn't want to know. Jack took out a small beacon from his pack. It was untraceable, built during his service years ago. He activated it and sent a single message to an old friend who owed him a life. Need pickup. Hostile threat. Not human. Will explain. Trust only me. Then he buried the beacon in the snow just outside the cave and returned to Nova. He looked down at her, gently touched her small hand, and whispered, I don't know what you are, or what you'll become, but I won't let them take you. Outside, the snow kept falling, but inside the ice cave, something stronger than a storm was growing. The world outside the cave had turned to white. Snow fell heavy and endless, erasing every footprint Jack had left behind. The storm helped him for now. It would slow them down. It would hide his trail, but it wouldn't stop them. Jack sat close to the ice wall, staring at the frozen shapes above. He had been quiet for hours, but his mind wasn't resting. It was racing. Beside him, Nova slept. Her tiny chest rose and fell gently, wrapped in the warm blanket. Her glow dimmed to a soft shimmer. She looked so peaceful, like she didn't belong in a world like this. He pulled his old military jacket tighter. The cold was biting through, but it wasn't the temperature that chilled him. It was the truth. He was beginning to understand. It wasn't just some alien species hunting Nova. It was humans too. He remembered the projection from her eyes. That alien woman, Nova's mother, had pleaded for help. And the people she begged weren't strangers. They were generals. Earth's highest defense officers. He had seen one of their faces before. General Rowan. Jack had worked under him during his final tour. And Rowan was no fool. If Rowan had refused that mother once, and now his soldiers were tracking Nova down, it meant only one thing. Earth had made a deal. Not peace. Control. Nova wasn't just a refugee. She was a threat to that control. Jack closed his eyes and leaned back against the ice. The echo of wind outside was like a warning howl. He had sent a message hours ago to someone he hadn't spoken to in years. Lena Torres. She had once been a deep systems tech for Earth Special Ops. They had trained together, bled together. She left the force when she found out what Earth was really doing out there. If anyone could help, it was her. If she still trusted him. His thoughts were broken by a small sound like static fizzing from metal. He opened his eyes fast. Nova was awake, staring at the far wall of the cave. Her eyes were glowing again, but it wasn't a memory this time. It was danger. Jack stood slowly and reached for the pulse scanner. The signal hit. Instantly movement near the cave entrance. 6 shapes. No heat signatures. No breathing. Drones. Machines. Designed for silent kills. Jack grabbed his pack and scooped Nova into his arms. He pulled a mirror device from his belt and stuck it through a narrow crack in the cave wall. The image appeared on his screen: 6 black drone units, hovering just above the snow, their arms shifting into sharp tools and laser sights. They were scanning the ice. Slowly, patiently. Then one turned its head right toward the crack. Jack yanked the mirror back. They knew he had minutes, maybe less. He looked around the cave. There were no exits, no escape paths. But there was something else. He reached into his pack and pulled out a shaped charge, an old explosive used for mining operations. He placed it against the far wall of the ice chamber. The wall was thick, but it led to another section of the cave system, a tunnel he remembered from training years ago. If it hadn't collapsed, it would lead deeper into the mountains. Safer. He set the timer for 10 seconds, held Nova tight, and whispered, "Close your eyes." The explosion lit up the cave with a thunderous blast. Ice cracked and fell like glass. The wall opened into a dark, narrow tunnel. Jack didn't wait. He ran. Behind him, metal scraped against ice. The drones had entered. One of them fired, and a red beam struck the ground near Jack's boots, melting the snow to steam. Another shot whizzed past his shoulder. He slipped into the tunnel. Stumbling in the dark, Nova pressed tight to his chest. Baby didn't cry. She simply stared up at him, calm, trusting. Jack kicked the ice behind him, sending a sheet down to block part of the tunnel. It wouldn't stop them long, but it would buy time. The tunnel opened into a large cave chamber. Moonlight poured in from a crack above, lighting the room like a frozen cathedral. And then his earpiece crackled. A voice came through. Rough, but familiar. "Jack, this is Torres. Tell me you're still breathing." Jack grinned, out of breath. "Barely. Where are you?" "2 clicks south. I've got a cloaked shuttle. You just need to make it out of those caves." Jack looked down at Nova, then up at the crack in the ceiling. It wasn't big enough for a human, but maybe a signal could pass through. He reached into his pack and activated a flare beacon. Blue light shot upward and through the crack into the sky. "Done," he said. "You've got my mark." "Copy that. ETA 3 minutes. And Jack?" "Yeah?" "Tell me you didn't adopt an alien baby again." Jack laughed for the first time in days. "She adopted me." Outside the cave, the sound of engines echoed. Not just drones now. They were sending people, real soldiers. Jack didn't wait. He grabbed Nova and moved to the far end of the cave. He didn't know what they were walking into, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was fighting back, and whoever came for Nova next would learn the hard way she wasn't alone. The snow had started to fall again by the time Jack reached the base of the southern cliff. Nova was wrapped tight against his chest, her tiny body warm and quiet. Her glow was almost gone now, reduced to a soft flicker. Jack didn't know if it was exhaustion or something worse. His legs ached. His breath came in short bursts. Behind him, the forest burned in the distance, faint explosions flashing in the night. The drones were gone, at least for now, but they'd be back. The real soldiers were coming next, humans, trained, armed, and sent by the same people. Nova's mother had once begged for mercy, and they weren't coming to talk. Jack reached the meeting point. Lena had given him a rocky clearing near the edge of a frozen lake. The air was sharp with cold, but the sky above was clear now. Stars shimmered like a sea of quiet witnesses. He looked up, waiting for the shuttle. Then he heard it, but not from above. From behind. A low growl. Wet. Guttural. Alien. Jack spun around, hand on his pistol. The trees shifted. The shadows thickened. Something was out there, and it wasn't human. A figure stumbled into the clearing, dragging one leg behind it, cloak torn and smoking. It fell to its knees in the snow, breathing hard, blood trailing behind like ink and water. Jack raised his weapon. The figure lifted its head, and Jack froze. The face was blue, Like Nova's, its eyes glowed faintly, older, sharper, wiser, a different energy. It looked at Jack. Then at the baby in his arms. And then something happened. Nova opened her eyes. And for the first time since her mother died, she made a sound, a soft hum, low and sad. The creature stood slowly, hand to its chest. Its voice came out rough, like it hadn't spoken in days. Nova, Jack narrowed his eyes. You know her. I am her father. The words hit him like a blast of cold air. Jack looked down at Nova, then back at the creature. His guard was still up, but his grip on. The gun loosened. The alien stepped forward slowly, hands raised in peace. His breathing was shallow, wounds deep. He was hurt badly. I followed her trail. I saw what they did to her mother. He looked at Jack with tired eyes. You took her in. You protected her. Jack nodded slowly. I didn't have a choice. She needed someone. No, the alien said, his voice growing stronger. You did have a choice. And you chose to become her shield. Jack didn't respond. He was still trying to understand what he was feeling. This was the first time he had seen someone else from Nova's species speak English. The man, if that's what he was, spoke with emotion, not just words. And the way Nova stared at him. It was real. This wasn't a trick. This was her father. Jack helped him sit down near a rock, offering his coat as a blanket. The alien's name was Kale. Kale spoke slowly, carefully. Our people, we were created by machines long ago. Built to survive, to learn, to grow. But we changed. We found feelings. We found family. The creators wanted only control. They destroyed those who resisted. Jack listened closely. The snow around them fell like silence between the words. They started hunting us, Kale continued. Our children. The young ones like Nova. They are rare, special, born from love, not wires. That's why they want her. She is proof that we evolved, that we are alive. She is the last of her kind. Jack looked at Nova, who was resting again in his arms. Why Earth? He asked. Kale's expression hardened. Because Earth made a deal. They gave the machines access. They allowed testing. In return, they were promised power, protection, weapons. Kale coughed, blood staining the snow beneath him. Her mother came to Earth once before. She believed in humans. She believed they could change, but the council said no. They called her a threat. They tried to take the child by force. He looked at Jack now, eyes burning with sorrow. She ran, alone, hunted, and she came to you. Why you? I don't know. But something in her heart trusted you. Jack stood up and looked at the sky. He didn't want to believe it. That his planet, that the people he once served, had become this. He heard the soft rumble of engines above. The shuttle. A sleek black ship shimmered into view, its invisibility cloak fading. It hovered just above the lake, and the rear hatch opened slowly. Lena's voice came through the comm. Jack, I've got you. Move fast. He helped Kale to his feet and carried Nova in one arm. As they approached the shuttle, a red beam shot through the trees behind them. A warning shot. Then another. They were under attack again. Jack didn't think. He pushed Kale up the ramp, handed Nova to Lena, and turned to fire back into the forest. 3 soldiers emerged, black armor, visors down. Earth soldiers. Jack's old training kicked in. He moved fast, dropped low, fired once, then twice. One fell. The others scattered. Lena shouted, Jack, we have to go now. He jumped into the shuttle just as the door slammed shut. The engines roared, and the ship lifted off. Jack collapsed to the floor, chest heaving. Kale lay beside him, barely conscious. Nova reached for her father's hand, and he took it gently. Lena knelt beside Jack. You've started something, she said. You know that, right? Jack nodded, eyes on Nova. Good, he said. Because I'm not stopping. Asterisk, the shuttle sliced through the clouds like a silent shadow. far above the earth, heading toward nowhere. Inside, Jack stood in the dark. Cargo bay, his eyes fixed on the stars. He wasn't thinking about the earth anymore. He was thinking about what it meant to be human. Not the kind of human who made deals in secret. Not the kind who hunted children from the stars. Not the kind who traded kindness for control. He was thinking about a different kind of human, one who stood between monsters and the helpless, one who saw a baby on his doorstep and didn't ask questions, one who chose to fight not because he had to, but because it was right. Behind him, Nova was asleep again, this time in a soft med pod Lena had activated. She was stable. Safe for now. Kale lay on another pod, weak but healing. Alien medicine worked fast, and Lena had always been a tech genius. Jack moved to the cockpit, where she sat scanning nearby frequencies. "They've locked down half the sky," she said. "Earth Command has marked you as a Class Zeter. You're officially more wanted than a moon smuggler." Jack gave a small smile. "Guess I finally made the list." She didn't laugh. "Jack, they know what she is. They'll burn planets to get her back." Jack nodded. "Then we don't let them." He leaned over the console, eyes sharp. "We take the fight to them." Lena turned her head slowly, confused. "To Earth? No," Jack said, voice low. "To the source, to the deal. To the humans. And machines that think they can play God." He pointed to Kale, still asleep. "They hunted his people. They used ours. They've crossed every line." He looked back at Nova. "And now they made it personal." Lena sat back, arms crossed. "You've got one ex-soldier, a half-dead alien father, a glowing baby, and me, a pilot with a very illegal ship. What exactly is your plan, Jack?" He turned and walked to the back of the cockpit, where a dusty crate sat under a sheet. Pulled the cover off, revealing a glowing box. Inside, a war core. An old Earth II drive. Disabled, locked, and erased. But Jack had rewired it years ago, kept it off-grid. A leftover from when he didn't know if he wanted to survive the war or finish it. "I've got an idea," he said. He plugged the core into the ship's system. The lights flickered. A voice echoed. "System initializing." "Welcome back, Captain Jack Walker. Shall we raise hell?" Jack smirked. "Yeah, let's make some noise." They began rebuilding the ship. Lena rerouted power to cloaking and shields. Jack connected old weapon modules and remapped the AI to scan for Earth Command signals. The goal wasn't to hide anymore. It was to hit back. Over the next few hours, Jack and Lena worked nonstop. Nova slept, her energy slowly returning. Kale woke, watched, and offered guidance. He told Jack about a station in deep orbit where the first deal had been made. A human research facility orbiting a dead moon. It was there Earth handed over alien children. It was there Earth became something else. Jack knew that's where they had to go, not just to find answers, but to end it. 3 days later, they reached the dark side of the moon. There it was. The station floated in space like a ghost, silent, hidden, shielded from public sensors. Lena parked the shuttle behind a frozen asteroid. Jack geared up. Old armor, reprogrammed tech, laser cutter, EMPS. This time, he wasn't just a protector, he was a weapon. Kale stood beside him, still weak, but ready. "Are you sure?" Jack asked him. Kale placed a hand on his shoulder. "She is our daughter. I would burn stars to keep her safe." Jack nodded. They launched toward the station in a small pod. The walls around them shook. They broke through the docking shield and landed hard. The door opened. Smoke and silence. The halls were full of flickering lights and old secrets. Jack moved fast, Kale covering his back. They reached the core room, the command hub of the entire facility, and there, waiting, was General Rowan, graybeard, cold eyes, dressed in a black officer's coat. Jack raised his gun. Rowan didn't flinch. "You should have walked away, Jack." Jack stepped closer. You should have said yes when she asked for help. Rowan's eyes narrowed. You don't understand what that child is. She's not just a life, she's a key. She can open systems buried beneath Earth for centuries. Alien tech. Power beyond anything we've known. We could evolve rule control. The stars. Jack's voice was calm, but sharp. You already had power. What you lost was your soul. Rowan raised a weapon. Too slow. Jack fired first. Rowan dropped. Silence returned. Kale walked to the console, touched the screen, and uploaded Nova's memory crystal. Every secret, every crime, every deal Earth made. It all transferred to the system. Jack inserted a drive, upload to the outernet. Every human colony, every news grid, every screen. The truth was going public. They left the station seconds before it exploded. Nova watched from the shuttle as the fire lit up the stars. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just blinked. And her glow returned, brighter than ever. Jack sat down beside her. It's over, he said. No, Lena replied. It's just starting. And Jack nodded. Good. Because if anyone came again, if anyone threatened that baby, they wouldn't find a helpless man anymore. They'd find a human. The kind that fought back. The kind that made the stars shake. The kind that screamed with fire and courage. Humanity F***. Yeah. Asterisk. The stars looked different now. Not because they had changed, but because Jack had. He stood at the open bay doors of the shuttle, staring into space as if for the first time. All around him, the darkness of the galaxy stretched wide and deep, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt alive. Behind him, Nova giggled softly. She was walking now, slow steps, wobbly and wide-eyed, bare feet glowing faintly on the cold floor. Her laugh sounded like tiny bells, soft and strange, but beautiful. She stopped when she reached Jack's leg and hugged it gently, resting her head against his knee. He looked down at her and smiled. It had been only a few weeks since they escaped the Earth-controlled facility and broadcasted the truth. The data Kale uploaded from Nova's crystal had reached every corner of the galaxy. Earth's dirty secrets weren't secrets anymore. The universe was watching. Protests broke out on colonies. Uprisings began. The public turned against the men in power. Questions were being asked. Alliances were shifting. Some wanted justice. Some wanted war. But Jack didn't care about all that. Not now. He cared about her. Nova. The child who wasn't supposed to survive. The spark that lit a fire across the stars. Kale sat in the cockpit, fixing a broken sensor with steady hands. He still wore the pain of the past in his eyes, but something else had started to grow behind them. Peace. The kind that comes after long, hard battles. Lena entered the bay, holding 2 cups of warm synth tea. She handed one to Jack. You did good, she said. Jack nodded, sipping the tea, watching Nova chase a floating light drone like it was a butterfly. We did good. Lena looked out the window beside him. In the distance, a planet glowed gold and green, a peaceful world, untouched by war or politics, habitable, quiet, far from any trade routes. No signals, no scanners, she said. We could land there. Stay hidden, give her a real life. Jack took a long breath. He hadn't thought about peace in years. For a long time, all he knew was fighting, loss, survival. But maybe, it was time to live. He looked back at Nova. She had stopped playing and was now drawing shapes in the air with her glowing fingers, circles and stars and lines. Jack didn't understand, but somehow they made sense to her. She deserves more than running, Jack said. She deserves a childhood. Kale spoke from the cockpit without turning. She deserves a future. The ship moved closer to the new world, its surface now clearer through the glass. Oceans like melted silver, forests deep and rich. No cities. No noise, just life. Lena began setting landing coordinates. But before she finished, a soft alarm pinged. Jack looked at her. "What is it?" She frowned, reading the incoming signal. "It's a reply from the stars." He walked over. The screen glowed with a strange symbol. Then words appeared in a language no human had written, but the ship's translator adapted quickly. "To the one who carries the last star child we heard, we saw, and we remember." Jack's pulse quickened. More lines appeared. "You are not alone. We come in peace. We come with hope." A location flashed. "Not far." Lena turned to Jack. "Other survivors?" "Maybe more than that," Jack said, eyes wide. "Maybe family." Cale stood up slowly, walking closer. "If they're real, they could help her understand who she is, what she's meant to become." Jack looked back at Nova. She had stopped drawing. She was watching them. As if she already knew. The ship landed softly near the edge of a glowing lake, surrounded by silver trees and grass that shimmered like glass under the two moons. Nova stepped out first, holding Jack's hand. She didn't hesitate, not like a baby learning to walk, but like a child ready to become something more. The clearing was quiet, wind passing through the trees like a gentle whisper. Then one by one, they arrived. Tall beings with glowing eyes and soft blue skin, different shapes, different markings, but all with the same gentle energy Nova carried inside her. They bowed when they saw her. One stepped forward, female, older, her face lined with light. She knelt before Nova and touched her head gently. "You are the key," she said. "The firstborn of two bloods, you are the bridge." Nova smiled. And for the first time ever, she spoke. Only one word: home. Jack felt his heart break and heal at the same time. Cale stepped beside his daughter, his eyes shining with tears. Lena stood back, arms crossed, a soft smile on her face. They had found something here. Not just safety, something greater. Jack didn't know what came next. Would Nova grow up here, among her own people? Would she one day lead them? Would she leave? Would she stay? He didn't have the answers, but she looked back at him and smiled, and he knew one thing for sure. No matter where she went, no matter what the stars brought, she would always have a father. Weeks passed. A small house was built near the lake. Jack and Cale worked side by side, learning each other's tools, each other's ways. Lena taught some of the younglings how to pilot. Nova learned faster than anyone expected. Her powers grew, but so did her heart. She would always carry the pain of her past. But now, she also carried hope. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Nova sat beside Jack, resting her head on his shoulder. "Dad?" she said softly. Jack turned, surprised. She didn't call him that often. "Yes, darling?" "Will there be more bad people?" Jack didn't lie. "Yes, somewhere there always are." Nova nodded. "Will they come for us?" Jack looked into the glowing sky, then down at her. "If they do," he smiled, "we'll be ready."